Kosovo is still facing threats from outside, the unsolved issue with the big neighbor Serbia, and of course, as part of this bigger game, victim of provocations from foreign actors in the region, and that is something what people and officials here must concern, and it is very important to know with what kind of threats and challenges we are dealing. Post-war era seems to be over. We have again to invest in our military capacities.
Due to the overspread of disinformation, but also due to the spread of malign influences that our societies are facing. As a country, we are not isolated from the influences from outside, but also from the influences in the region. And that's why our organization, Kosovo Center for Security Studies, is committed to work hard on trying to treat as much topics related to security.
In the past 30 years at least, Kosovo has been a target of Russia since the NATO intervention in 1999. It has been a target or mentioned since Kosovo declared independence. And especially right now with recent developments in the northern part of Kosovo, Russia still tries to address or to portray itself as it does have a say in what happens in our country. So, and then there's arguments that say that, yes, but Russia does not have a lot of interest in Kosovo per se. It is mostly because it wants to counter the Western effort to try to build an independent country with prosperity and so on, which is true. But yet again, 25 years after Kosovo has been liberated, being vulnerable and a target of Russian influence has not done any good to allow Kosovo to fully consolidate its statehood. That damages Kosovo the most is that it tries to crack the international consensus on Kosovo's independence and on Kosovo's statehood, which has mostly been done through propaganda. Peace-building interventions, such as the case of the post-war and post-independence Kosovo. And to amplify such attempts, Russia invests in online and offline disinformation campaigns to portray Kosovo as a failed state, and by that extension, the failure of the West. 35% of the statements by Russian institutions altogether argues that what Russia tries to say is that the Western intervention in Kosovo is driven by self-interest and that the West has double standards. In this narrative, there's many false analogies that are done by comparing Kosovo to Crimea, and then we see some similar tactics that Russia employs against some of the countries in the Southern Caucasus, such as Russia tries to attack the EU and the US, and arguing that both the EU and the US are striving to make themselves an indispensable part of the Kosovo-Serbia settlement. So, and then another element of this second narrative is that the concept of Kosovo's independence has fallen through because so many countries, even in the Western Balkans, but also Europe and the world, don't recognize Kosovo's statehood. So this is something that Russia constantly tries to push forward. 20% of the statements is that Kosovo is a source of instability and organized crime. In the past, Russia has, especially in the crisis of 2015-2016, Russia tried to push the narrative that Kosovo is sending ISIS recruits to the Middle East.
Kosovo should focus on deepening its strategic economic and security partnership with the US and EU, which are our allies. Leverage regional alliance. I have proposed here that Kosovo should strengthen alliance with the countries in the Balkans, with North, but I'm a big, let's say, fan of strengthening alliance with Albania, because we maybe can build the same strategy, Albania and Kosovo, the same strategy for minimizing the influence of Russia in our countries.
Because we are very much reactive in regard to Russia, so we have never been proactive in trying to deal with their narratives at the UN level, or especially UN is important, and OSCE, where Russia is a member right now. These two organizations are very important, but especially UN and OSCE are of special importance. So we have had not a strategy on dealing with Russia's narrative to feed all the missions there with the documents, with whatever is needed, with the materials in which, by which is deconstructed and are deconstructed Russian narratives towards Kosovo. So this is one way. The other way is to send all these kind of things, like documents, non-papers, whatever we can call them, to all foreign ministries of different countries of the world. We have been very, very inactive and reactive. And the second thing that I would like to point out here is that Kosovo has institutional capabilities to deal with Russia's narratives. The problem is that we don't have intergovernmental coordination.